Happy Junkanoo Day. Junkanoo is today as well as the first day of Kwanzaa. And what is Junkanoo? It's actually Boxing Day. And the parade that they have on Boxing Day is called the Junkanoo Parade. Now, Junkanoo is just like the man's name, John, John Canoe. And you pronounce it John Canoe. You pronounce it all together. And folklore says that that's where the festivities began with a man named John Canoe. It started in the Bahamas, and it says here that those Bahamians, those very proud Bahamians, held on to their African traditions, and that this is one of the most purest and unique display of honoring the traditions of Africa. The day after Christmas, they would take to the streets and with costumes made from whatever materials they could find. I'm not wearing a costume, but I did put feathers in my hair, and I have on my cowrie shells, which I know that they had, and I'm wearing my tribal necklace. And then I also have cola nut shells in a bracelet. Now, back then, our ancestors would use whatever was available to them. And by beginning in the Caribbean, they had access to those exotic birds. So they could have plucked a feather or two from those birds to wear in their hair and put on bright colored head wraps and things of that nature. They also painted their faces, and you can see that my face is painted. Now, more than likely, they painted their faces with tribal markings. This was one of their ways that they could really reconnect with Africa, because painting their faces in Africa was a way of life for them. It wasn't just something to do. And so being able to celebrate Junkanoo in the Caribbean, and they were able to paint their faces and reconnect with Mother Africa, I think that's a wonderful thing. They would celebrate in the streets. They would be on stilts. So it really was reminiscent of what Mardi Gras is. And I dare say that since this started maybe 100 or so years before Mardi Gras, then Mardi Gras might be a child of Junkanoo. It may be something that they brought, some of the people that are Caribbeans that were sold to New Orleans may have been able to incorporate this. I think the only two states that here in America who actually celebrated Junkanoo was Virginia was one of them. Suffolk, Virginia, which is a very small town, but they actually celebrated Junkanoo. And also North Carolina, I think some parts of North Carolina, they still celebrate and honor Junkanoo. Again, it's held on December 26th and then also held on January 1st. Now, if you happen to miss one of those 2 days, they will do it again on July 10th, because that is the Independence Day celebration for the Bahamas. They would dress up in elaborate costumes that they made out of anything that they could find, and they would make instruments out of anything that they could find. They would have like goatskin drums and cowbells and whistle horns and anything that they could find in order to make that sound, so that they could go out into the streets and they could celebrate and have a good time. So if you missed Junkanoo today, you can still catch it on January 1st and put on your costumes and paint your face and put your feathers in your hair, and you can make your own instruments, or you can just clap your hands. These are the two instruments that they could not take from us. So happy Junkanoo Day. I hope you learned something, because I had never really heard of this until about 3 years ago. So happy Junkanoo Day. Happy Kwanzaa. Everybody celebrate.